every time I went out there, even when I'm wrestling a guy like Rob Van Dam, the crowd's chanting, fuck him up, Axl, kick his ass, Axl. There was, when Devon Dudley and I tagged together, they would boo the hell out of Devon and still cheer me. And it was this strange dichotomy of the fans never hated me. I think they respected the fact that I worked hard and gave them, my blood, my body, my, guts, everything I could every time I went out there. But Paul, I don't know if it was a personal issue, if it was that blow up in the dressing room that one day, but he would never let me get past here. There was right here, just to be there, that I was never given that opportunity, but always one of the most popular guys in the company. And I never really talked about it with him, even when years later we came back together to do the SmackDown and Raw segments before the setup of the first ECW One Night Stand. We kind of just got back together. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Huggy, everything's fine. Kind of brushed all that under the carpet because it was old news.
Why did you not want to be a part of the ECW reboots?
The first One Night Stand I was happy to do, and I was really psyched for it. But in 2006, the oddest thing happened out of nowhere. John Laurinaitis wanted Balls Mahoney and I to come do a WWE tryout. Not to be a part, this was prior to the ECW thing, so for a month, Mahoney and I went on the road working Raw and SmackDown, because they would do Raw Monday, obviously it was live, and they would tape SmackDown on Tuesday. So we worked Monday, Tuesday for a month all over for ECW, for WCW, in dark matches prior to the show going live. And I remember one match specifically in the Meadowlands. We went out there, and Pat Patterson was like, "Oh, don't worry, don't get no reaction. These people, they won't know you. They have no idea who you are. Don't let that affect you." And our music hits, they Balls and I come up on the Titantron. The whole arena erupts. They start chanting ECW, ECW. We get to the ring. There's signs in the crowd. Axl, Balls. We paid to see Balls and Axl. All this stuff, And we went out there and nailed it. I mean, we were over huge. As a matter of fact, Chris Benoit said, the three biggest pops of the night were John Cena, Balls Mahoney, and Axl Rotten, and Eddie Guerrero. So that's in pretty good company. And when we came back through the curtain, Shane McMahon was just jumping up and down going, "Yes, that was it. You guys nailed it. We got to get you guys going right now, man. Get you on contract and get you on TV. We can get the T-shirts out, the action figures. People are going to buy them. This is great." And Chris Benoit came up to me and said, "Man, you guys have exactly what this company needs right now, because all of our wrestlers look the same. It looked like they just took a stamper or a cookie cutter and said, 'Well, make a wrestler, make a wrestler, make a wrestler.'" But he said, "You guys look like two guys who, you go to a bar and have a beer with, and then end up getting a fight in the back alley and then come back in and have a couple more drinks. Like the old school wrestlers, like Dick the Bruiser, the Crusher, Stan the Man Stasiak, real tough guys. We didn't look like what I like to call the WWE roster is a bunch of metrosexual underwear models. That's what they look like to me. They all look the same. They all do the same thing. And I think Balls and I would have been just a great addition. And could even went the way of being kind of a bushwhackery kind of thing. Because, we're hardcore, but we're also nuts and crazy. But, doing those matches, being a part of WWE, I would have been fine with. But also, at that particular time, I was in the midst of still struggling with heroin addiction, so it was really tough for me. But as far as the whole new ECW, I was contacted by Tommy Dreamer, and he explained to me what was going to happen. And I was actually one of the first guys to sign the contract. I was paid. I was collecting a check for almost 2 months before they went to the new reboot, as they call it. And I just had a feeling that in the pit of my stomach that they were just going to take us, because Vince McMahon is an egomaniacal, wants to rule the world. He is literally Dr. Evil. He wants everything. He wants to rule the world, and he ultimately does that now as far as professional wrestling. He owns it. So when it came time for that, I was like, this just doesn't feel like it's going to be something that's going to benefit Axl Rotten at all. I got to the airport. I was getting ready to get on the plane to go to Pittsburgh, and I chose to get back on the subway and go buy heroin and get high instead. And it's just like, and as bad of a choice as that was, going to buy heroin is never a good choice, so don't ever do that. I'm glad I didn't go to the new quote-unquote ECW, because Vince did exactly what I said he was going to do. He even made himself the ECW champion. That was just to erase the memory of what we did, and that to me was the biggest slap in the face to all those guys that went there and did that. So I have no regrets for not showing up for that. That's what he likes to do. Anything that he did not create in professional wrestling, or sports entertainment, he wants to bring it back just long enough so he can bury it. That way, he thinks people's memory is going to be his creation, because technically, he wanted people to think, when they think ECW, he didn't want them to think Axel, Balls, New Jack, Sabu. He wanted them to think Matt Hardy, Rene Dupree, who else? Mark Henry. Not that there's anything wrong with any of those guys, but when you think ECW, you should think Sandman, Sabu, Shane Douglas, Taz, Balls, and Axel, FBI. If I'm leaving anybody out, the list is very long, but that's what ECW was about. And what Vince did was basically try to rewrite history, which he tries to do quite a bit.
Let's take a match from the older ECW. It was you, Moose McCauley, Chris Candido, Van Dam. You remember working that match? If not the match itself, just the fact that you are the only surviving participant from that match. How does that hit you?
It's heavy, man, because Scotty, Bam Bam, and Chris and I go so far back. I don't know how you can see that, but that tattoo right there says, Chris Candido. He was one of my best friends, and it's surreal, because if you ask the pundits, the Dave Meltzers, the quote unquote know-it-alls, I'm the one that's supposed to be dead, because of my reckless abandon and rampant drug use. But to lose Chris